What's poppin', everybody? It's Degreeless this time again. I know, I'm upset about it too. Nevertheless, I am your host, Shanghai Pete, 21st century digital boy and trusted member of the media. Thanks so much for chilling with us tonight. Now, hot on the heels of our stunning and brave E3 special, the nauseating news nightmare of the gaming industry just doesn't stop. So, here we are, standing ready to tear it all apart as need be. And there is a definite need. So, let's get deep inside. Time for just a quick recap of the week first, and we begin with Ubisoft, a legendary pile of shit AAA publisher whose name has become synonymous with some of the worst and most exploitative game design in recent memory. Now, I'd say that they're a developer too, but let's face it, they're far more a publisher than anything else now. Any development done is farmed out to sweatshops and slave-driving animation studios at this point, which the quality of their games, of course, makes very clear. Now, not content to sit idly by and not make as much money as humanly or inhumanly possible, they have finally gone and done the inevitable. Assassin's Creed will soon be a live service. Man, am I tired of being right. It has been quite some time since I really fucked with this series, though. I think the last one I really liked was the installment set in the American Revolutionary War period, whichever one that was. Not that there haven't been some decent entries since, emphasis on decent, just none I've really cared about, but that's all coming to an end though, likely sooner rather than later. Here's a quote from a recent PC Gamer article. The aptly codenamed Assassin's Creed Infinity is set to be a live service game that will evolve and expand over time. Fantastic, thank God. According to a new report from Bloomberg, instead of it being just one isolated look into a historical period, Infinity is instead looking to stitch different settings together with room to expand and develop each one post-launch. I mean, if you can't get one setting right, why don't you just do all of them at the same time and make them all equally garbage? Am I right? Bloomberg says Ubisoft has been inspired by the longevity of games like Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto 5, which continue to make Epic Games and Rockstar a stupid amount of money. Stupid indeed. So it's inspired by GTA 5, the online version of which includes an actual casino and Fortnite. Well, fuck me. I don't have anything specifically against Fortnite other than that I hate it, of course. It's become sickeningly representative of all the absolute worst shit in gaming these days. Constant pop culture promotions, seasons, absurd gimmicks, endless amounts of worthless electronic ephemera to spend your parents' money on, etc. It's a quintessential example of flash over substance, and that's what your new Assassin's Creed is going to be modeled after. Say goodbye to this franchise, boys. Like I said, I never cared about it that much, but I am sorry to hear that it's dead, especially going out like this. Jesus fucking Christ. Talk about violating a corpse. Moving on, there was a little bit of a kerfuffle surrounding EA recently in which they were reported to be doing perhaps the most EA thing ever, putting TV ads in games. It's only a matter of time. Who actually believes that they wouldn't do this? Yeah, fucking no one. Here's a quote from the original Axios report. A new advertising platform will allow companies to include video ads in PC and console games similar to those seen in mobile games and on free-to-air TV. Oh, fucking awesome. Dubbed Player One and owned by Simul Media, the tech is based around rewarding in-game items and currency to players who watch ads and targets free-to-play games, which will be just about everything pretty soon. Yeah, I don't think that this comes as a surprise to literally anyone. Now, over here, we've long since stopped playing any EA game, so I was happy to ignore this. Then the real comedy began, of course. They denied it. Get the fuck out of here, you clowns. No one believes that. Listen to this statement from EA. Following incorrect reports suggesting that we are looking to introduce TV-style commercials into our games, we want to clarify that in-game advertising for console games is not something we're currently looking at or have signed any agreements to implement, an EA spokesperson said. Creating the best possible player experience remains our primary focus. Yeah, creating the best possible player experience remains your primary focus. Oh yeah, because there's just so much fucking evidence for that, am I right? If there's one thing EA is known for, it's for always creating the best possible player experience. See what I mean? These companies will just lie directly to your fucking face and not give a shit. No shame whatsoever. Now, in all seriousness, notice how this is phrased. In-game advertising for console games is not something we're currently looking at or have signed any agreements to implement. This is what we call couched like a motherfucker. Classic EA. You may not be currently looking at it, but I bet you were and will be later. Oh, and yeah, I'm sure you haven't signed any actual agreements yet, but you fucking will be. Anyone want to take bets on how long it'll be until they finally admit this and roll it all out? My guess is less than 2 years. Fucking disgusting, yet somehow completely expected. Now that that's out of the way though, it's time for our main story tonight, in which, incredibly, astoundingly, shockingly, Nintendo has managed to do it the fuck again. Oh, for fuck's sake, guys. What was I just saying about these assholes? Jesus Christ. As you may or may not have heard, after failing to unveil anything prior to or during E3 regarding their much-hyped new Switch model, Nintendo randomly, finally, dropped the big announcement yesterday out of fucking nowhere. Retailing for $349, the new Switch model, simply called the Nintendo Switch OLED, great name boys, it upgrades the screen to a 7-inch OLED panel, still rendering at 720p, and that's about it. They also upped the internal storage from a paltry 32GB to a somehow more pathetic 64GB, as well as adding a less than totally useless improved stand and an Ethernet port on the dock that perhaps they time traveled from 2006 to bring us. Excuse me while I throw a fucking party. And of course, always remember, we told you so. Here's a clip from our last video. We all thought we were prepared for all the ways they could potentially Nintendo up the unveiling of the new system. Maybe they'll give it a shit name, or fuck up the pricing, maybe botch the marketing, or not fix the Joy-Cons, or fail to adequately upgrade the hardware specs. And there you have it, 3 out of 5, not too bad if I do say so myself. Number 1, Nintendo Switch OLED model certainly qualifies as a shit name. Number 2, there's no indication that they fixed the Joy-Cons, so we can look forward to more Joy-Con drift issues, awesome. And number 3, most importantly, they failed to adequately upgrade the hardware specs. Or upgrade them at all, actually. Not sure which is worse, not even making the attempt or attempting and utterly failing. Probably making the attempt and botching it, actually. This is a classic mid-gen refresh, boys. Settle in, it's gonna be with us for a while. Now, I do think that it's important to point out, though, that this isn't so much Nintendo's fault, or rather, our expectations aren't entirely their fault. Reset-era fanboys, legions of overzealous and irresponsible YouTubers, Game Leak, Twitter, Reddit, even Forbes, they all played a part in hyping us up for what I'm going to call an inevitable letdown. Nintendo, in fairness, did just about everything they could to keep expectations low, and let's face it, they've historically been pretty good at that. So, what happened? I don't think there's any way we can know for sure. Did they have a different version of this model ready to go with a more modern chip than the Tegra X1 in it, and then bailed at the last second for whatever reason? Maybe they decided they didn't want any part of the current chip shortage nightmare? Possibly. Were they never planning a model that was any different than what we got? I would say that's doubtful. Too many of the leaks said the same things and appeared to have the same sources, so that seems a little unlikely. I'd be willing to bet that they may have had a more powerful model in the works, but just decided to scrap it for the time being. After all, Switch is still selling out everywhere. They've got new Zelda and Metroid in the pipeline, and sales are showing no signs of slowing, so I don't know. Might kind of make sense. Maybe they just decided to ride it out a little longer. Who knows? However you want to spin it, though, I remain convinced that the amount of life that they're able to squeeze out of a chip that's already 10 years old is extremely finite. Sure, chip may still be selling, but I can't imagine that's going to last much past 2022. They're already rapidly using up what's left of their so-called Nintendo magic, or whatever the fuck kind of sorcery they've been using to keep people buying this ancient technology. For some of us, I mean, it's not a mystery, though. With the jailbroken Switch, you essentially have the ultimate emulation machine, and I love it for that. I've always said that. Toss in the odd RPG like Bravely Default 2 or DQ11, make a few Mario games, there's some retro releases, totally awesome. But I can't imagine that there's much life left in this tech from 2011 as anyone's main console. Another downside to this, and something a friend of mine pointed out, is that Nintendo is basically just laying waste to customer trust in their hardware rollout. If you've been to Reddit or similar places recently, you'll see no shortage of posts from people lamenting how they just bought a Switch or maybe recently grabbed a Switch Lite or don't have any idea when it'll be safe to buy or upgrade. $300 is a lot of fucking money, and in most cases, especially now, people don't have that kind of dough to just be tossing around. And this new announcement is going to make them even more hesitant. A lot more, and I can't blame them. But And then on the other hand, let's be real, those likely are not Nintendo's main customers. I doubt grandma or your fucking mom is going to A, know anything about hardware release life cycles, or B, give a fuck at all. They're just gonna buy whatever's on the shelf or whatever the GameStop goon tells them to buy. So, probably won't end up being a big deal for their bottom line either way. So before we wrap up for tonight, let's lay this all out. Will I buy this? Well, that depends. If it can be jailbroken, definitely. Since I use my Switch in portable mode mostly, the screen alone is worth it, providing it can still suit my emulation needs. Do I think you should buy it? Same answer. If it can be jailbroken and it's mostly a portable system for you, a bigger OLED screen sounds pretty fucking nice. Otherwise, Do I think that this was the Switch Pro that all those rumors were referring to? Knowing Nintendo, I think this was one of the possible models they were working on, yeah. Does that mean we won't be getting a real Switch 2 or Super Switch or whatever anytime soon? Yeah, that's exactly what that means, actually. For the time being, this is it. If you were waiting for an actual hardware upgrade, time to pack it up till at least next fall. Womp womp. God damn it. Nintendo, get your fucking shit together. Okay, that's our show. Thanks so much for chilling with us and spending this little bit of your free time here tonight. We love you today. We love you all the way. Rest assured, we'll be back soon to put the industry in its place and to bully developers on the playground, so don't touch that dial. More degreelessness and toxic internet behavior coming up next week.